Hey everybody, Ben here from the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Top 5 Friday. We are back. So we try to get together on Fridays and have a look at the top 5, something probably to do with Blood Bowl, because that's what we do. Now, recently the Khorne team has landed, and one of the very interesting things about this team is the fact that basically everybody gets mutation skill access on a primary. Now, there are already some teams out there that focus heavily on mutations. Underworld and Chaos Renegades, I am very much looking at you two. But the Khorne team having that access to really shakes it up. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have a look at my top 5 mutation skills. It will vary from team to team, so we're going to put these results together. We put a post out on the channel, loads of people gave some feedback, appreciate that massively, kind of put that together in the list, and yeah, we are going to have a look at the arbitrary top 5 mutation skills. Number 5, we have got extra arms. Now, extra arms is a very useful skill. Basically, you get +1 to your rolls to catch and to pick up the ball if you've got extra arms. So for the most part, this is just an edge boost for everything to do with the ball. So if you want to pick up the ball, if you want to receive it and hand off, you count as 1 edge better. So this is going to take the majority of your players who are probably edge 3+. And for all intents and purposes, when it comes to doing stuff with the ball, they are edge 2+ now. This basically mutates normal dudes into elves, not for dodging, but for, you know, blood bowling, which is a massive improvement. So this is incredibly useful on any kind of player that you are trying to brew up to be a ball carrier. Okay, you've got that tough choice between whether you want to go, and this is something that I am personally struggling with right now when it comes to my Khorne team, whether you want to create a ball carrier. Do you take sure hands and go for that 3++ that integral reroll, or do you take it to a 2+ pickup instead? It's a very difficult one, but extra arms gives you that choice. Now, if you've already got an edge 2+ piece, extra arms is just phenomenal. Basically, you're going to be 2+ forever to do anything. So you got a gutter on it, extra arms, 1+ wherever. Running into 1 tackle zone in the rain, whatever, it's going to be a 2+. It's going to be absolutely massive. And if you've played against Hackflem or played with Hackflem, you'll kind of get a bit of a flavour of that, because that's basically his jam. So this +1 is absolutely huge. Really important. Now, it combos brilliantly well, and this is something that I picked up from your guys' comments. It's superb and a really great shout out. So we've put these combos down at the bottom of every one of these skills because it's so integral to what these skills do. It's so difficult to pick a skill for one of your guys because there are other skills that really tie in well. So we're going to talk through that as we go. So extra arms combos incredibly well with big hand, sure hands, extra arms, absolutely, and monstrous mouth. So monstrous mouth gives you that catch element, big hand gives you that ignore any modifiers element, and sure hands gives you that reroll. Those are all sitting in a really tight pack of useful skills for a ball carrier, and that is why this is my number 5. Number 4, it's Prehensile Tail. So this is one of those skills that is definitely more useful on a certain type of player than it is on a different one. Very similar, to be fair, to extra arms. Extra arms can take your edge 4+ guy, so your ogre, and make it 3+. That's not bad for picking up the ball and things. Not ideal, that's okay. Prehensile Tail is the kind of skill that goes brilliantly on a player that wants to be in combat. So this is excellent on a big guy and on a blocker. And when it comes to mutation wise, there are some players that definitely fit that archetype. Now, specifically, this is really useful against and on a player where the opponents are going to want to try and escape from that dude. Okay, so this is a really good skill on the Bloodspawn, for example, or Seekers. Okay, you start your activation and you're in base contact with a Strength 4 or Strength 5 Frenzy piece. You are probably going to go, I'm just going to risk the 3+ dodge away. And when you are playing against elves, Prehensile Tail is a phenomenally brutal thing. It doesn't sound like much taking a 2+ dodge to a 3+ dodge, but that will cost them rerolls as the game goes. So opponents in your tackle zone get -1 to dodge, jump, or leap away. So it's just gonna keep them in place. Now, this one absolutely falls into the same kind of zone as Tentacles, which is I want this skill to keep people close by. But what this skill does beyond that is this can turn... Well, this can create turnovers. This can turn over your opponent's phase. This is going to make it more difficult for them to dodge away, and it's going to put an absolute end to some of their turns. Now, a couple of watch outs here with the Prehensile Tail. Multiples have no effect, which is a massive shame. Sort of. I do think it would be great fun to have like 3 Chaos Dwarfs with Prehensile Tail, and they're just all mobbing like one guy, and it's just -3. It's just no... I think I'd like that, but actually, as far as game... not balance, but game fun and game enjoyment goes, 1 is probably enough. I mean, the Croxagore, the Rat Ogre, these are fantastic big guys that more often than not you are willing to take the 3+ dodge away. If you're an elf, you're willing to take the 2+ dodge away. When you chuck on that extra -1, it gets really bad. And essentially what this skill is, this is going to cost your opponent a reroll or a turnover, and that's huge because that's going to create another armor break. It feels like a bit of a gimme skill and a bit of a gimmick skill, but it is so important. Now, it combos great with a few other skills as well. Armbar, which basically is Mighty Blow for if dudes fall over while trying to escape you. It's not a skill that you're likely to want to take because you could take something better, but man, it combos super well. Tackle as well. Anybody trying to dodge away from Prehensile Tail, if they have dodge, they're going to consider it, but it's going to be a bit of a free roll. Tackle and Prehensile Tail is horrible. That person who was going to 2++ dodge away, maybe 3++ dodge away, is now 4+ or 3+ with no reroll. And Tentacles as well is just really unfun. This combination of skills is the Blue Mage of Magic, but on the Blood Bowl pitch. I would like to move my guy away. No. And no. And Tentacles as well. And Tentacles, basically, if your equal strength only works on a 6, so there's a 1 in 6 chance of it not going as well. That is the same here with Prehensile Tail. You are -1 to dodge away. The difference is this one here creates turnovers. Number 3 is 2 heads. So I love this skill. I think it's awesome. I mean, this will not surprise you guys. I'm a bit of a Skaven coach. I love my agility. I love the ability to run around anywhere and just lol at the tackle zones. 2 heads gives you +1 agility when dodging. This takes your guys and makes them 1 agility better. Okay, this is going to be so useful, and this is the skill I'm genuinely contemplating putting on my Gore, one of my Khorne Gores on my Khorne team. I love the idea of being able to 2+ dodge into the open, and this skill allows you to do that. So Renegades, if you want your Goblin, who is a stunty player, to be able to dodge away, you give him 2 heads. Now he's 2+ with a stunty, so it's 2+ basically forever, unless you've got Prehensile Tail against you. And with that baked in dodge skill, it's just phenomenal. That guy is then 2++ anywhere, ever, forever. It's like having a massive Snotling. That's the dream. But what this skill does is it just gives you the ability to basically boost your agility on any one player. You can take an Ogre and make him 3+ for dodging into the open. You're better off taking break tackle, but you can do it. But ultimately what this skill is for is just being able to create scoring threats. Scoring threats and also incredible blitzers. So this is why I'm contemplating this skill for my Khorne Gore. Block is the right thing to take on the Khorne Gore, I know, I said it as well. But the ability to 2+ out into the open, then run around to blitz exactly where I want him to go is phenomenally useful. And also that extra +1 for running into a cage when I really need to. That's what? 1 tackle zone on a 3+, 2 tackle zones on a 4+. With a reroll, that's 75% of running into 2 tackle zones and punching the guy I want to punch. That's also going to open up some really good opportunities. So 2 heads is useful almost every turn. You don't want to be dodging away that much. What it does is it gives you choices. And when you are playing a team with mutations, you normally don't have a huge amount of agility. So being able to create that agility option for you, whether you are putting a blitzer where you want him to be or making a break for it with the ball carrier, is huge. Now it combos brilliantly with dodge, which is why the Goblin does so well on the Pax team, like phenomenally well, and also goes really well on a Gutter Runner. This becomes a 1++ dodge around. So this Gutter Runner's running through tackle zones as if they're not there, essentially. And break tackle is a poor man's 2 heads as well. So break tackle once per turn will allow you +1 to your roll if you are less than strength 5, +2 to your roll if you're strength 5 or more. So if you are trying to brew up somebody who's busy running around into the open, or more importantly, somebody who's looking to bust into cages, then 2 heads comboing with break tackle can be huge, because then you're +2 to a dodge roll. It's only 1 dodge roll for break tackle. This is why 2 heads is significantly better. But then you're taking your standard Edge 3+ guy and making him hack phlegm. Alright? And that is horrific. So you take a Corn Gore, you give him break tackle and 2 heads. He's 1+ dodging into the open, which is 2+ in 1 tackle zone, 3+ in 2 tackle zones, and a cheeky 4+ into 3 tackle zones. This guy at this point just wanders into a cage 50% of the time. It creates options. So 2 heads just makes it better. It's going to save you some rerolls, but it makes your team more fluid, and sometimes it's just going to be the difference between walking that touchdown in and falling over. Number 2, it's Claw. Now, we had a ton of people say Claw, and I'm not surprised because it is a fantastic skill. It is not as good as it used to be, but it still has significant uses. So Claw is a skill where if you are active and you knock a dude down on a roll of an 8+ for armor, you win. Okay, that's it. There is no adjustment. You knock a dwarf down on a roll of an 8, you break the armor. You knock a tree man down on a roll of an 8, you break the armor. You knock a Skaven lineman down on a roll of an 8+, it doesn't matter because it was always going to work anyway. And therein lies one of the vulnerabilities of the Claw skill. Claw is awesome, and when you put it on a blocker, it becomes incredibly useful. So if we're looking at Khorne, all right, the big dude already has Claw, the Seekers don't, but they are going to be powering people down. Claw is the ultimate skill if you are able to read your league. Okay, you've got Claw in an armor heavy build, and you've got Tackle in a league with lots of dodge. Those are the 2 anti-skills, and you will be knocking people down, but normally when it comes to armor, they get back up again. With Claw 8+, that's done. Now, it doesn't stack directly with Mighty Blow. What it will do is allow you to use that Mighty Blow +1 on the injury roll instead. That is going to be huge. Okay, if you think about having Claw and Mighty Blow, you are breaking armor on an 8+, which is something like a 44% of the time, and then on a 7+, you can use Mighty Blow to take it to an 8 to cause a knockout, which is going to be 56% of the time. So you're looking at what, 24% chance of a KO or better when it comes to rolling armor if you've got Claw and Mighty Blow. So that is a huge boon to the Bloodspawn. And when you look at some of these other players, for example, a Minotaur who is likely to be running in at strength 6, going for a cheeky blitz and rolling 4 or 6 dice because Frenzy, so 2 dice on the first one, 2 dice on the second block, you are likely to power dude down. So this one combos incredibly well with all combat skills, primarily block because that helps create additional armor rolls essentially. Tackle again will work if you're in a dodge heavy environment. Frenzy doubles your chances to knock a dude down, basically. Statistically, that's not how it works, but it creates 2 blocks instead of 1, so happy with that. And to that effect, multiple block will also have the same kind of jam. Mighty Blow combos brilliantly with Claw, not directly, but does increase the chance of them staying down or getting gone if you break the armor. But that 8+ is going to be fantastic. Oh yeah, it doesn't work against Iron Hard Skin, which is a mutation that did not make this list. That is not a spoiler. That is not going to be our number 1. Claw is not the uber skill that it used to be. But if you come up against a heavy Claw team and you are an armor team, it is going to cause a problem. So when you start seeing these Khorne teams brew up with a bunch of Seekers with Claw, it's one, you know that they are playing in a heavy armored environment. Lots of blockers, Black Orcs, Sauruses, Dwarves, okay? It becomes seriously powerful. And that's definitely why I think it deserves a top spot in the top 5. And that brings me to my number 1, which is Horns. So again, so much in the chat about how great Horns is, and I couldn't agree more. Now, all of these top 5 skills do very similar things. With essentially a prehensile tail, they fudge a stat, right? 2 heads, extra arms, and horns all give you a stat boost. But you're not always dodging. You're not always picking up the ball. But you can always be blitzing. If you have a player with horns who doesn't have a nega trait or passes the nega trait, can always turn horns on. If you've got a beast man, if you've got a goblin with horns, you just say, I'm blitzing with him at that point for any blocks he makes. That is +1 strength. So horns gives you an extra dice most of the time. This is phenomenally useful on Beastmen, and we see it all the time in the Chaos teams. You see it very useful on Pestigors, and you are going to see it incredibly well on the Khorne team. But as a mutation upgrade, it is phenomenal. So I love Minotaurs. That will surprise none of you if you've been watching this channel for a while. And the reason I love Minotaurs is because they get that extra strength when they blitz. You want them to be blitzing because they're offensive pieces with frenzy and an armor skill. Having horns means that they win the big guy fight. And one thing I did find when I was running the Bloodspawn is that lack of horns, and also for the Rat Ogre and the Yeti who do have frenzy, is that lack of horns means that going up against a big guy is not as easy. A Minotaur is a point and click situation, and horns here will give you that in any of your leagues. When I say league, I mean your punching league. So you give this to a strength 3 dude, any other strength 3 dude, you can individually 2 dice them. And if you're a big guy, so if you are a Bloodspawn looking for a bit of a boost, then horns is going to be phenomenal as well, because you're going to get that rampaging effect of, I'm going to 2-die anybody, and with 1 support I'm going to cause 3 dice, and by the way, I've got frenzy, so that's now 6 dice. And that's where horns work so well. It just goes on like that. You don't have to wait for a situation. You can create a situation. If your guy is not in combat, you can blitz them. If they are in combat, you can declare blitz and get that strength to give yourself just 1 extra boost to your roll, and that's absolutely huge. Now there are some skills that combo brilliantly with it. Jugs, if you are blitzing and you roll a both down, you may turn that both down into a push, which goes very well with the second skill that I do awfully love with frenzy, with horns, which is frenzy. So that frenzy, the reason it's so good as a combo is because you're boosting your strength. If you can create a situation where you solo 2 dice somebody, frenzy means that that 2 dice now becomes 4 dice. So horns and frenzy can take a blitz that would normally give you a 1 die block and turns it into 2 2-die blocks, and that is phenomenally huge. And that's where all these skills combo super well, but you don't need frenzy to maximize it. You don't need jugs, you don't need block, because you will generate 1 extra strength, and that 1 extra strength will be hugely useful. If you need to push somebody away, it's probably going to create you a safe 2-die block, and then you run out there. That's what happens with Beastman runners so often. They're tagged. There's 2 people in base contact with them. You've got an opportunity now to blitz through one of them at 2 dice. As long as you tag, it just creates so many options. And these skills create turnovers, they create downs, they create opportunities. And horns is the king of that skill, in my opinion. You can put this on almost any player and it will probably come in handy, with the exception of the troll. Now, that is my top 5 mutation skills. But one thing I think you can all agree of is that the mutation skills, there are tons of them that are incredibly useful. We've missed a few off this list, and I think we have to talk through them now because they're so great. Big Hand, we've talked about Big Hand. It ignores all modifiers for tackle zones, for rain. So if you've got big hands and edge 3+, you're picking up the ball on a 3+, no matter what's going on. Huge there. Claws we've talked about. Disturbing Presence and Foul Appearance kind of pair up really well, and they are great passive skills. Disturbing Presence makes it harder to handle the ball within a 3 square radius, which is a 7 square block on the pitch. The pitch is only 15 squares wide. 2 Disturbing Presence pieces are basically going to cover most of the pitch. 4 on a Nurgle team is going to cover all the pitch, and it does stack. It stops their opportunities, it doesn't create them for your own. That's why I didn't quite make the top 10 here. Foul Appearance, however, gives you a 1. A roll of a 1 is just going to save your guy. So the rules change, and this is why Foul Appearance very nearly made the top 5 as well. Foul Appearance on one of your guys, if they want to block them, they have to roll a 2+. If they want to blitz them, they have to roll a 2+. If they roll that 1, their activation just straight up ends. So you activate a guy, you say, I'm going to go over here and blitz this guy. Before you move, you roll that failed appearance. If you roll a 1, you don't move, you don't blitz, you do not pass go, you do not collect 200 gold pieces. And that is, again, massive. I know it's only 1 in 6, so but sometimes it's going to be an absolute killer. Ironhard Skin, probably one of the only ones I wouldn't consider as a great one. Going to be very useful as a 7th skill down the league when everyone else is running tons of Claw. The Claw skill may not be used against a player with Ironhard Skin, basically. Monstrous Mouth is a very useful one. It is catch, but not only do you get the catch skill, it protects you against strip ball as well, which makes sense because the ball is inside you at this point. So it's a great one. So if you are building a dude that you are planning to receive the ball with, maybe you give him extra arms. Later on, if you think he'd actually catch, would be really useful. Monstrous Mouth, even better because it protects you against strip ball, and you've got to watch those dodgy war dancers because that strip ball is going to come into play. Now, Tentacles is a classic mutation upgrade for big guys, and it nearly took the Prehensile tail slot. It's a really close run thing. So with Tentacles, you roll a dice, you add your strength, you subtract their strength, and if the result is a natural 6 or 6 or better in total, they don't get to move. Their activation ends. So it is really useful. If you've got a strength 5 guy and a strength 3 dude is dodging away, on you rolling a 4 or more, they don't go anywhere. I do like the -1 to create a turnover instead, because their activation ends, well, no, their movement ends. They can still blitz, they can still block you, I guess, if they've declared a blitz at you, but it keeps them close. I would rather have a turnover. I'd rather have a turnover, and that's why Prehensile Tail gets the angle here. But on trolls and resilient pieces that's got greater strength, 4+ for them to stay tucked in place is pretty good. Very long legs, I guess, is the last one that we haven't talked about. And it gives you another reduction if you are jumping around, which is quite useful, I suppose, if you're going to be jumping around. Also gives you a +2 modifier to interfere with a pass. That's normally going to take it from like a 6 to a 4+. However, we're not seeing a huge amount of throwing, and I think if I was going to be running anti-pass game, then not pass block, but on the ball might be better. Very long legs is going to be handy in that situation. I'd probably say very long legs and Ironhard Skin, very much bottom of the pile. My top 5 are there, but the top 10 are very close. So that wraps up Mutations. Some great choices, and that does mean that 2 skills, not so great. 10 skills are. So when it comes to rolling randoms, rolling a random mutation, not a bad punt. But as you know, some are going to be more effective on others. For example, didn't want to put Prehensile Tail on one of my Gores because I don't want my Gore to be standing next to somebody. I'd much rather give them something else, like Claw, to go and have, have some fun hunting dwarves. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching. Please let me know what you think of my top 5 and any other great combinations between mutations and skills, because the comment section is a great place for us to go to talk about what works great. Anyway, I'm going to disappear. Thank you very much for watching. Happy mutating. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to help support the channel even further, please like and subscribe, or come join us on our Patreon. We have early access to content. We get loads of feedback from you guys, and we try and do competitions as much as we can. Or you can get yourself some Bonehead podcast merch on our Spreadshirt site. So if you want to support a team, especially for the Bonehead Championship, you can pick up a shirt, a mug, things like that. It all helps support the channel, and we really appreciate it. Anyway, links below. Thank you very much. Happy blocking.